Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think many leaders grapple with. What does it really take to be a top-notch program director? Especially, in the fast lane of IT leadership. Our mission here is pretty straightforward. Distill the absolute must-knows for you. So we've dug into sources that lay out seven really essential skills for anyone in this kind of role. And the best part, these aren't just theories. We're bringing them to life with examples from real-world chief information officers, CIOs, people who've actually walked the walk. So look, whether you're aiming for those big complex projects or maybe you just want to sharpen your leadership skills overall, this deep dive, it's packed with actionable insights. Ready? Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and it is really interesting, isn't it, how these skills aren't just confined to IT. I mean, sure, our examples today focus on tech leaders, but the core ideas, they apply everywhere for anyone guiding major changes, because let's face it, in today's world, just managing a project, that's not really enough anymore. True program directors, they drive real transformation, and these CIOs, they show us exactly how that's done.
Absolutely, 100%. So let's dive right in. Skill number one, strategic planning and execution. This is really about, well, two things. Having that clear vision, but then crucially, having the chops to actually make it happen. And a really powerful example here is Rob Carter, the former CIO at FedEx. Think back to the 90s. FedEx was facing this huge logistical headache, trying to get technology integrated for tracking packages globally. It was pretty messy.
And a massive challenge at that scale, yeah.
Totally. And Carter didn't just strategize. He delivered concrete tools, things like the Super Tracker, that real-time barcode scanner in PowerShip, the workstation for shipping. His brilliance wasn't just the big idea, it was that relentless focus on the how, translating vision into something tangible, something people on the ground could use.
Exactly, and the impact was undeniable.
Oh, absolutely. Streamlined operations, customer service went way up, and FedEx really cemented its place as a logistics leader.
And that's such a key point because, strategic planning can sometimes feel a bit abstract, like it just lives in presentations. But its real power, as Carter showed, is in that ground level execution.
Right.
So if you're listening and thinking, okay, how do I get better at this? Well, it starts with really knowing your team's strengths. What can they bring to the table? Then it's about thinking ahead. Brainstorming those potential roadblocks so you have contingency plans ready, setting those SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. That's fundamental.
Can't skip that step.
Definitely not. And also, keeping an eye on competitors, seeing what they're up to. And maybe most importantly, constantly reviewing your plans. Adapting as you go. It's not set and forget.
So the question for you listening is, how do you make sure your vision doesn't just, stay a pretty picture on a whiteboard? How does it become real? Something you can actually measure. Okay, so from setting the direction, let's pivot to another vital piece, team leadership and development. This is where I think it gets really interesting because it's not just about telling people what to do. It's about genuinely inspiring them and actively helping them grow.
The human element, yeah.
So critical. Exactly. And our example here is Jamie Miller, formerly the CIO at General Electric. She led GE's really ambitious rollout of Predix. Now, Predix was this huge platform for industrial data analytics, like think an operating system for all their heavy machinery and complex operations.
A massive undertaking.
Huge. And imagine guiding all these different teams, some very traditional, through such a major tech shift. Her leadership was all about the people, making sure they weren't just trained on the tech, but that they felt motivated, bought in.
And the results spoke for themselves.
Right. They really did. GE saw better efficiency, lower costs, and just faster innovation across the board.
That really underscores the importance of, well, how do you build a team that doesn't just survive change, but actually thrives on it?
Good question.
It comes down to a few practical things, I think. Assigning those stretch assignments tasks that push people a bit outside their comfort zone. That builds capability, maybe rotating roles sometimes, give people fresh perspectives. And as a leader, you absolutely have to model the behavior you want to. Ethical conduct, accountability, that growth mindset.
Leading by example.
Precisely. Offering training, sure, but also, and this is key, empowering your team, letting them make decisions, letting them own the outcomes. That builds real ownership.
So take a moment and think about your own team. Are you giving them the space to grow, to own their work, to really thrive, even when things get tough? All right, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk money. Skill number 3, budget management and financial acumen. This is all about keeping those projects financially healthy and, responsible.
Always important. Maybe not always glamorous, but essential.
Definitely essential. And for a great example, look at David Gledhill, the CIO of DBS Bank. He led this enormous digital transformation over at DBS, migrating everything to the cloud, seriously upgrading their mobile banking, a huge shift.
Right, I remember reading about that. Very ambitious.
It was. And what really stood out was his sharp budget management. He had to find the money for all this new tech, but at the same time, optimize the costs they already had.
A balancing act.
Exactly. It wasn't just about tracking costs. It was understanding the strategic value of where every dollar went. And, well, DBS won a bunch of awards for digital banking innovation. That speaks volumes about his financial leadership.
It really does. And it highlights something crucial for any leader, not just finance folks. Financial acumen isn't just counting beans. It's about understanding what your resources are truly worth strategically. What's the return on this investment, not just the cost?
Good distinction.
Yeah. So how do you build this skill? Well, start with the basics. Get comfortable reading financial statements, understand budgeting principles. Then, for your projects, track expenses meticulously. Compare actual spend to your budget. Adjust course when you need to.
Are there tools that help?
Oh, absolutely. Using budgeting software or tools for real-time tracking helps immensely. And look, if it feels daunting, start small. Manage a smaller budget first. Build that confidence and expertise.
So the question for you is, are you really in control of your resources, or are they maybe, just maybe, controlling you? Something to think about. Okay, moving on. Skill number 4, risk assessment and management. This one is all about foresight, spotting potential problems before they blow up, and having a solid plan B, C, and maybe D ready.
Being proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly. And Neil Sample, when he was CIO at Express Scripts, is a great case study here. His job involved managing enormous amounts of sensitive health data, using things like analytics and machine learning. Now, in healthcare, data privacy and security are absolutely non-negotiable.
The stakes couldn't be higher.
Right. Zero margin for error. Sample's success was in creating strategies that let Express Scripts use data for things like personalized patient recommendations, but without compromising data protection. He threaded that needle perfectly.
Which demonstrates a deep understanding of risk in that specific context.
Precisely. Innovation balanced with robust security.
And the broader takeaway there, I think, is that anticipating risk isn't just a nice to have. It actively saves time, money, headaches, reputation, you name it. It's fundamentally about building resilience into your work.
So how do you do that practically?
Well, you start with thorough risk assessments. Identify potential risks, then prioritize them. What's the likelihood? What's the potential impact? Then develop solid contingency plans. What's your backup if plan A goes sideways? Stay informed to industry trends, regulations. They all introduce new risks. And critically, foster open communication. Your team needs to feel safe raising potential red flags. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, that's huge. Psychological safety.
Absolutely. And finally, learn from the past. Look back at previous projects, what went wrong, what went right, how were risks handled. Use those lessons.
So for you listening, what are the potential what-ifs lurking in your projects or your area? And honestly, how prepared are you if they happen? Okay, next up, let's talk connections. Skill number 5, stakeholder engagement and communication. This is really the art of building trust, getting people on the same page, and aligning groups that might have very different priorities.
Often the trickiest part, I find, people dynamics.
Can be, for sure. And we saw a real masterclass in this from Karen Terrell, the former CIO at Walmart. Her job was immense. Integrate Walmart's massive physical store presence with its growing online operations. We're talking building a seamless e-commerce platform using analytics for inventory across everything.
A huge logistical and technical challenge.
Totally. But her real genius, it was engaging everyone, from the managers working in the stores right up to the top executives, getting buy-in across that huge, diverse organization.
That ability to connect and align. That's what made the omni-channel experience actually work for Walmart.
Exactly. It wasn't just tech. It was people alignment.
And it really shows that effective communication is so much more than just sending out emails or status reports. It's about achieving real resonance, getting genuine buy-in.
So how do you cultivate that resonance?
Well, first, you need to really understand your stakeholders. Map them out. What are their needs? What are their concerns? What motivates them? Then, tailor your message. What works for the tech team won't necessarily work for the finance team or the marketing team. Speak their language. Be transparent. Share the good news, but also be upfront about challenges and setbacks. That builds trust.
Honesty is key.
Absolutely. And listen actively. Really hear the feedback, address the concerns, show people they're being heard. And yeah, use different channels, meetings, emails, reports, informal chats, whatever it takes to keep everyone informed and engaged.
So who are your most important stakeholders? And how well do you truly understand where they're coming from? Are you just broadcasting or are you actually connecting? All right, nearly there. Skill number 6, decision-making and problem-solving. This is about navigating those inevitable challenges effectively and making sound judgments, often when the pressure's on.
A core leadership function, really, making the tough calls.
Definitely. And Timothy Campos, the former CIO of Facebook, now Meta, of course provides a stellar example. He faced this absolutely critical problem: how to handle Facebook's insane exclusive user growth. Scalability was everything.
Yeah, keeping the site up and running smoothly during that period must have been incredibly difficult.
Unimaginably complex. His solutions were really innovative. He oversaw the creation of new software, even new hardware, designed specifically for that massive scale, plus using machine learning really smartly for targeting content.
So solving the problem at a fundamental level.
Exactly. The result was Facebook could keep growing efficiently, keep adding users, without sacrificing that positive user experience. He solved problems on a scale few ever have to.
And what's fascinating about strong problem solving, like Campos demonstrated, is it's not just about finding any answer. It's about finding the right answer, efficiently, even when you don't have all the information.
That uncertainty piece is tough.
It is. So some key practices here. Gather diverse viewpoints. Talk to your team. Talk to other experts. Don't try to solve it all in your own head. Analyze the data you have. Use it to inform your decision. But, and this is important, don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Sometimes you have to make a call.
Right, perfect information is rare.
Exactly. Practice being decisive, even with some ambiguity. Accept calculated risks. And learn from your mistakes. Reflect on past decisions, what worked, what didn't, why. That's how you get better. And finally, build a culture where your team feels empowered to tackle problems creatively. Encourage innovation.
That balance between speed and thoroughness in decision-making, it's a constant tightrope walk, isn't it?
It really is. A skill honed over time.
Okay, last but certainly not least, we've arrived at skill number 7, adaptability and flexibility. This isn't just about coping with change, it's about actually thriving because of it, seeing it as an opportunity.
Which is so vital in today's world. Things change fast.
Incredibly fast. And Diane Greene, the former CEO of VMware, is an amazing example of this. She played this absolutely pivotal role in transforming VMware. The company was primarily known for one thing: virtualization software.
Right? They dominated that market.
It did. But Greene saw the writing on the wall, the rise of cloud computing. And she didn't just react. She proactively shifted the entire company's strategy, embracing cloud trends, forming strategic partnerships, diversifying their offerings way beyond that initial product.
A bold move, changing a successful formula.
Very bold. But the result? VMware didn't just survive the shift, they expanded massively, grew their market position, grew their customer base significantly. She didn't just adapt, she led the change.
That really reframes adaptability, doesn't it? It's not passive, it's proactive. And in today's tech landscape, let's be honest, it's non-negotiable. You have to be adaptable.
So how do you cultivate it? It feels like a mindset thing.
It is, partly. But there are actions you can take. Consciously try to view change not as a threat, but as a chance to learn and grow. Stay plugged in. Keep learning about industry trends, new technologies, what's happening in the market. Be curious. Actively seek feedback from your team, from stakeholders. They often see things you don't, areas where you might need to be more flexible. And be willing to experiment. Try new approaches, even small ones. Get comfortable with trying things that might not work perfectly the first time.
Embracing experimentation.
Exactly. And dedicate time for continuous learning. Read, take courses, talk to people. The world keeps changing, so your learning can't stop.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for your journey? In a world that just refuses to stand still, how will you embrace what's next? Wow, okay. That was quite a deep dive. So much valuable stuff there. Let's just quickly recap those 7 key skills we covered, along with those fantastic CIO examples. First, strategic planning and execution. Remember Rob Carter at FedEx, turning vision into reality with things like the Super Tracker.
Making it happen.
Then, team leadership and development. Jamie Miller at GE, inspiring her teams through that huge Predix transformation.
Focusing on people.
Third, budget management and financial acumen. David Gledhill at DBS Bank, brilliantly funding digital innovation while watching the bottom line.
Smart money management.
Fourth, risk assessment and management. Neil Sample at Express Scripts, navigating that tricky balance of data use and security in healthcare.
Proactive protection.
Fifth was stakeholder engagement and communication. Karina Terrell at Walmart, masterfully aligning everyone for that seamless omnichannel experience.
Building bridges.
Sixth, decision-making and problem-solving. Timothy Campos at Facebook, tackling massive scale challenges with innovation.
Finding the right answers.
And finally, seventh, adaptability and flexibility. Diane Green at VMware, pivoting the entire company to embrace the future of cloud.
Thriving on change. Yeah, and these leaders, these CIOs, they really drive home how these skills aren't just abstract concepts. They are the direct drivers of success in really tough, complex situations. And it's clear, isn't it? Becoming a great program director or any kind of great leader, it's not like you arrive at some final destination.
It's a journey.
Exactly. It's a constant process. Daily practice, asking for feedback even when it's uncomfortable, and learning from everything, the wins, the losses. So the real question for everyone listening is, how are you going to take these insights, these examples, and weave them into your own leadership approach, starting now?
That's the perfect closing thought. As you look ahead to your next project, your next meeting, your next challenge, maybe pause and think, which one of these 7 skills could I intentionally work on right now? How can you lead with maybe a renewed sense of purpose and passion, ready for whatever comes your way?